It's the show that all the other public access channels are talking about. Welcome to What's My House Worth? I'm sorry, hold on one second. We're getting breaking news. Okay. Ryan, what do you got? Breaking news.
Well, this is just off the Needham waiver wire. Unconfirmed reports out of Needham are indicating that Rob Tickton is leaving Encompass Residential. Speculation is that he is joining the team at Hawthorne Real Estate. That's interesting. The two sides are reportedly ironing out the finishing touches on a long-term deal. Multiple sources with close ties to both sides say a deal is imminent.
Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to run with that. My name is Rob Tickton. I'm with Hawthorne Real Estate, evidently. We do brokerage and real estate development here in Needham.
And I'm Ryan McDonald, and I do those things as well, and also with Hawthorne Real Estate. Well, this is cozy.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, Rob.
Thanks, Ryan. I guess we'll have to figure out a way to streamline that opening, but either way, we're going to do what we always do, and that's go over the previous month's sales data. And for this show, the previous month's sales data is February. And Ryan, as we look at the month of February right here in Needham, the numbers tell you what kind of a story right off the bat?
They tell you the typical story of February, that we had only 11 homes sold. That's down from 18 in January, so we're definitely seeing the effects of the winter end-of-year season.
The doldrums of winter, if you will.
So, but our average list price up to $920, up from $806 in January. We had an average sales price of $884, so pretty high number, up from $777 in January.
Right, and we always provide the percent of list, but this month something different. We're also now providing the percentage of original list, which is a little bit more telling, isn't it?
Right. I think I always like to look at the percentage of original list because that gives you the true story of how people are pricing their homes, and that we typically see that 96% of 97% of list for the sale price, but the 94%, that's indicative. That's a big number.
And the average sales price per square foot is $332, which is about as high as we've seen over the last few months. And along those same lines, days on market 98 seems a little bit high as well. And then the last number on that list is looking at how many homes sold in February of 2012. And when you look at that number, you see 19, and you think, wait a minute, is this a bad sign? 11 homes this month, 19 homes a year ago. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later and see if that might be a red flag. But for the time being, why don't we take a look at the trailing 6 months right here in Needham of single-family homes per MLS, and really not surprising to see that trend heading into the winter, is it?
Right. No, I don't think it's surprising at all, and I think we'll start to see, as we'll get into later in the show, we're going to see that graph start heading up in the next couple months. Right.
The demand, we certainly see it there. The question is, what's the supply looking like? I think a lot of people wondering that, as are people that write for the Boston Globe. There was a story about that just last weekend. But in the meantime, let's see how this February matches up against the previous 6 here in town. And while 11 doesn't look very good up against the number 19, there are plenty of instances where we've been below 11.
Yep.
And that includes leap years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's always good to pay attention to leap years.
Hey, that day could mean everything.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right, March loses out in those years. I think it does tell a story that the winter months are going to be slow, and they're a result of the buying season that takes place in the end of the year prior.
Right.
So that November-December season is very slow, which translates into January-February closings, which are down. So again, I think what we're going to see, and we'll start to speak to it as we get into some of the sales and into the forecast for the months, the coming months, we're going to see this trend going up.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the 11 houses that did sell. As we always do, we start at the bottom and work our way up with regards to sale price. And the not-so-big seller, if you will, of the month is 102 Blake Street. This is right near High Rock, isn't it?
Yep, it's in the neighborhood near Henderson, High Rock, that area. It's a large lot. It's 11,761 square feet. It was a quick sale. I mean, it was on the market for 9 days. I mean, that's indicative. You get a home listed under 5. Anything under 5 in Needham's going to get attention, especially in a neighborhood like this. This is a dated home, needed some updating, but, $485.
Yeah,
Oh.
And good news for the buyers on this is since 2003, 9 homes have sold on Blake Street. This is the first one that is sold for under $500,000.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, so that tells me that you're probably surrounded by higher priced homes, and that's always a good thing.
Very comforting.
Also, Blake Street, you said just 9 days on market. The next listing is 8 Ardmore Road. that only had 4 days on market, and those two listings, the shortest time on market, were the two that sold for the least amount of money in February.
Yeah, I mean, and that's an interesting point, and I think we're going to see a little bit more of that in the coming months. These quick turns on days on market, but Ardmore. This is an enclave or sort of near the Wellesley line. It's got homes that have turned over the last few years. There's a decent amount of new construction on Ardmore.
Yep.
It's very close to Elliott School. In fact, this lot I think even might have butt a little path to Elliott. It's a large lot. It's over 17,000 square feet, but it's very narrow. So it wasn't your prototypical tear down, no-brainer build lot, but it is, as I understand it, is going to be torn down if it hasn't been already, and it's an opportunity to be into a great neighborhood for under $5, and that's I'll keep an eye on that to see what actually goes up there.
Yeah, there is a track record, like you said, of $1 million plus homes on that street. Since 2008, 5 houses have sold over $1 million. So I'm guessing that will probably be the 6th.
Yeah, the other one, what I might have contributed to this price is not only the narrow lot, but it also has an easement on the lot with a neighbor's driveway. So that's something that I'm sure the current and eventual owner will sort through.
Right, and the future listing agent will have to explain to any potential buyers.
Right.
The next listing is 11 Bond Street. I know that's a listing that you and I have both.
Oh, look.
Whoa, wait a minute. Hello, alert, alert. It's
Early
your deal
on.
of the month. Why is that, Ryan? What makes 11 Bond Street your deal of the month?
I mean, this is the theme that we're going to keep hitting on this month is just what we're seeing and what we're hearing in the market. And this sale right here is indicative of just a very, very, very hot early spring market. And this one went on the market at $685. It's a Cape. It's 1,600 square feet, 3 beds, 2.5 baths. The 2 beds on the second floor,
Right,
so one of the 3 beds is on the first floor.
Yep.
Needs some work. I mean, it's definitely in move-in condition. The homeowner took good care of it, but it's a house that has an older kitchen. The roof is old. There's no air conditioning. There's older windows. It needs some freshening up. And to bang it out at $640, that's a really, really good number.
Yeah,
so this is my deal of the month for the sellers. So
for the sellers, I
job.
think the operative words with this listing were stone's throw to Mitchell and Perry Park. It's a great location.
The location clearly, this is a factor of a great location, very low inventory. But still, I mean, this one started out at $685 and it sold for $640. I really think that, I mean, $640 is getting you less and less these days.
Right, and we'll go into that a little bit later about that $600,000 price range and what's been going on that we've seen over the last few months. That's your deal of the month. Let's move up to 44 Norfolk Street, and what do you think of that?
Wow.
That's called back-to-back.
Right, what are we going to do for the rest of the show?
I don't know, that's the first time I think that's happened. 44 Norfolk Street is my deal of the month. This one sold for $680. It actually had sold just in 2010 for $679. So who knows? Maybe those people had a deal of the month as well.
They made $1,000.
But what I like about this house is it's Newman School. It's a walk-to-train location. It's a good-sized lot, just about 15,000 square feet.
So to be clear, this is your deal of the month on the side of the
buyer.
Bingo.
Correct, the buyer. I think it was move-in condition. Didn't need anything. Some might say better than new. I would say recently renovated. The one thing it was missing. Do you know what the one thing it was missing?
Well, it didn't have a garage, so that might be it.
That would be it. So no garage.
But a large lot and plans on hand for a garage.
Right. So
in hand, I should
something
say.
you could
not in my
overcome.
hand, but in someone's hand.
Right. But at one point they might have been in your hands while
I
you
did
were
see them.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
you were reviewing them. I think I saw that.
Yeah.
But that's my deal of the month. I like 44 Norfolk Street.
Yeah,
I think
15,000 square foot lot. Can't beat it. I mean, it's a great little location.
It is.
The train's
underrated.
a factor.
Underrated location, though.
I agree. I like it.
And it's on a bit of a quiet street, unlike Great Plain Avenue, which is a little bit of a busier street.
It's known to be one of the busier streets in town.
But it didn't keep 732 Great Plain Avenue from selling for 740.
Yeah, I mean, this is one, like typically you try to shy away from the busy street, but this is one of those exceptions where you're kind of, it's almost like a majestic, stately location. You're in town, you're way into town. This is right there, as you're heading into town on Great Plain. It's one of those homes that you always pass by. It was fun to see it when it was on the market. But again, it's $740,000.
Yeah, and it includes a sleeping porch. For those of you who don't know what a sleeping porch is a balcony or deck that is screened and furnished for sleeping in warmer weather. I don't remember if this was screened.
No.
But it was furnished.
Was anybody sleeping on it?
No, but if you have I guess a bottle of off, you don't really mind so much if it's
Right.
not screened during the summer months.
Yeah. So, but I mean, still, this is a $740,000 price tag for a house that's, you know, just over 2,200 square feet with 4 bedrooms, but one of them doesn't have a closet, so that's always kind of realtor speak for maybe it's really a 3-bedroom.
Right, and it says price reflected the fact that it was an old boiler and an older roof.
Right.
And it was still priced at $769.
That's
I
strong.
kind of like the strategy of wording that in
Yeah.
there because you're taking away some of the artillery
Yeah.
of the prospective buyer.
Yeah,
because
don't
you're-
come in here and renegotiate after the inspection
Right.
about the roof because we told you it was
right,
old.
right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So not bad. That's a good number for that. That
a
might have
great
been a
number for
finalist
that.
for a deal of the month.
It was in
but-
contention.
Yeah, but it didn't make the cut when all was said and done.
True.
56 Thornton Road is next up on the list. This one sold for $764,000. A pretty good location for this one, wouldn't you say, Ryan?
I do. Yeah, I would agree. This is a great spot. I mean, it's off of Broadmeadow, right near the school. This is a nice little neighborhood. Thornton's a popular street. This is an expanded Cape. So I mean, when you're getting a Cape up to 2,500 square feet, that means you're doing something. But and this one expanded laterally.
Right.
So there are lots of things you can do with a Cape, and ultimately you maximize the available space, and that's pretty much what happened here.
And that expansion happened in 2006. Also under agreement 3 times as a listing agent. Can get a little nerve-wracking when you're going
Dicey.
on the market, off the market, on the market, off the market. We don't know exactly what would contribute to that.
Right.
But usually when I'm a listing agent, if it happens once, okay, I can work through that. When it happens twice, you're going to have potentially some skittish buyers.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it came up during their negotiations, and you definitely have to be able to relay to the next prospect what the situation was. And,
Right.
and you know, things happen. Deals fall through. It happens all the time.
And when
You just
all
gotta
else
stick with
fails, you just blame the previous buyer.
it. Right. It's really easy to do.
It's foolproof. 342 Lot 1, Cartwright Road. When I see the word lot in a listing, what do I think, Ryan?
Someone's manipulating MLS.
Well, that and potentially there's some kind of new construction either that has just happened or
Right.
will be happening. The listing agent was kind enough to actually put a sign of Cartwright to verify that was indeed the location.
Right. Right.
And there's the picture right there.
Yeah. I mean, my question though, Rob, is can we count a Wellesley address in our Needham sale numbers?
That's a good. Well, we
I
are.
mean, why stop there? Why stop at Cartwright? Why don't we go all into Wellesley and pull all their data in here?
Well, I think we leave MLS to make those decisions for us. So in this case, yes.
Yeah, this one's definitely towing the line between Needham and Wellesley.
Right.
Yeah, it's a gray area.
It is, but it makes the cut, and especially when you only have 11 sales in a given month, it's not
We're
getting
going to tuck
sacrificed.
some Natick sales into the back end of this just to keep this moving.
Right. So very little to say about this other than it is a land sale, and looking at some of the new construction on that road, at least in Needham,
Yep.
there wasn't much of it, but that might explain why, because it's in Wellesley.
Right.
320 Grove Street, there's no question about it. This listing is
Definitely-
in Needham.
Definitely.
You agree?
Yeah.
Confirmed,
yeah.
and it's a
but
whole
very close to Wellesley, though.
close in a lot of land too, 4+
Yes.
acres. Did you like this house?
I did. I mean, it's they did a nice renovation here. It's a huge lot, like you mentioned, 4.6 acres. It's just outrageously big.
Yeah.
It's on that little neighborhood near Sabrina Lake, although it's on the other side of the street.
Yep.
But originally priced at just under 1.3, which I think is what contributed to its days on market. But I think for $1,070,000, I think this is a good buy.
And it included a full-size sauna.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I saw that, and then I saw it was built in 1981. I thought, yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. But what you don't want is a half-size sauna, because that just gets awkward. I mean,
Right,
You're
because-
you're cold, you're warm, you don't know what to do.
Good point. Or you're just sitting down the whole time because you can't stand up. Either way, full size is definitely the way to go. My pages are stuck, so Ryan, why don't you tell us what the next listing is?
23 Morton Street, Rob. Now that you're back on track, it's
Feels good.
sold for 1.17, and it was on the market for close to 300 days. But it was new construction. This one, truth be told, I did not get into this one, Rob. So I can't tell you. Typically I'm the new construction snob, but I really can't weigh in too much detail here.
Well, I can say that the price range is a hot spot, the high
Yeah.
1.1s. I think we're seeing a lot of people who want new construction, but they don't want to pay that new construction price, and so
Right.
I think this falls into that category. I would also argue that the location is what I like to call the stepladder streets. It's right in between Highland and Webster, right? But it's just a few of them, but they
Yep.
are parallel.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a new neighborhood in Needham.
Ladder
Yeah.
streets.
We
Yeah.
all know the ladder streets, but That's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Good work.
Thank
This
you.
is why we hired him.
Yeah, see, I've been holding that one until after I got hired to announce it. So
That's
not quite as
fantastic.
desirable as the ladder streets, but
Yep.
it does. There's something ladderish about it. On to a bigger house on a bigger lot, 40 Bancroft Street, and now we're starting to get up there with the big boys. Ryan, 14075. That's a good number.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great location. Bancroft is right near Mitchell, a 12,000 square foot lot. I mean, how many times do we get phone calls saying, "Do you have anything in Mitchell that's over 12,000 square feet?" Well, no, but
Right.
here's one.
Yep.
And just this one went under agreement, became a custom home almost immediately. So this one, it was one of those deals where the builder put it on pre-construction, hooked a buyer, built essentially a custom home. Not one that we were able to get into because it really, as a finished product, wasn't on the market. But in talking to the agent for the buyer, she had nothing but wonderful things to say about the finishings and the process, and it just said it really came out to be a beautiful home. So that's a great spot, and the customer sounds very happy.
Yeah, and the fact that it was on the market for 16 days is indicative of probably a desirable household. Short time on market. What I noticed on this was, do you know what the builder paid for this lot? Did you catch
Yeah,
that?
it was like 640.
Yeah, 632.5.
Yeah.
So just something to kind of think about as we take one more look at 40 Bancroft is you've got a cost of that lot of 632.5, a sale price of 140.7, and those two numbers interesting to think about as we now transition to the next listing, which is our big seller, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
It's 130 Clark Road. So this is a house that sold for about 50 grand more than the previous house, but the builder bought the lot for 200 grand less.
Right. This is one of those deals where it all comes together for you as a builder. Clark Road is a neighborhood that has a lot of new construction, some high-end new construction, slightly larger lots.
Hillside.
It's in Hillside, yeah. But as we saw, at the year-end spectacular, I mean, Hillside holds its own.
Right.
as far
I wasn't saying like it was a bad thing. It was just
get off Hillside's back.
I was just bragging about my knowledge. That's all. Hillside, yeah, I like Hillside.
All right, yeah. So like you said, though, I mean, the spread, the builder had a lot more room to play with in here. And having been in this house, it's a great, it's well built. There's lots of nice features, but it wasn't like there's $200,000 of extras that are in 130 Clark that didn't go into 40 Bancroft.
Right, but if you're buying a new construction home and the builder bought really well, is it safe to assume maybe that he threw some extra money in there, knowing that he's got more wiggle room on his margin?
Well, you'd certainly hope so if you were the end user there. But at the same time, if you look around the street on Clark Road, I mean, there's comps. So it's one of those things where maybe it's not so much that the expectation to be there for the builder. It's that the builder just got himself a really good deal on the purchase.
Like you said, big lot too, 21,000 square feet.
Yep.
And so that does it for the 11 homes that sold in Needham in February.
Well, the 10 that sold in Needham and the 1 that sold in Wellesley.
Right. The 11 lots, 10 with homes that sold in February. We're going to now introduce a new segment to the show. Lots of changes today. Exciting.
Yeah.
It's almost like the year-end spectacular, but not quite that good.
Right. It's a little more casual.
Much more casual. Yeah. So we hear things. Listen, it's what we do. We're out and about. People talk to us about the real estate market in Needham, and we hear things. So we decided to talk a little bit about what we're hearing. Ryan, what's the first thing that we seem to be hearing and seeing?
The sixes. They are just on fire. I mean, you're putting something out there in the sixes, and people are flocking to it, and they're flying off the shelves. It's really, really remarkable. I mean, you could argue that you could put a house that's currently on fire and price it in the sixes, and it might get some interest.
Right, as opposed to you don't want to price it in the fives, it won't get nearly as much interest. But this is, I would say, a very new, relatively speaking, development that over just the last few months, listings that both come on the market and then go under agreement and then that are selling, that we're taking a step back and thinking if this was a year ago, we wouldn't be seeing this.
Right.
And so we put together an example of the ones under agreement, as I talked about, just to kind of give an idea on houses that we see that we're thinking, wow, these are all potential deal of the month.
They are.
For the seller.
They are. And if you take a look at this next slide that comes up, as Rob mentioned, these are just a sample of homes that are currently under agreement that we'll be talking about in greater detail in the months ahead as they close. But all of them are, in our opinion, the price tags were striking, and really, I mean, like you said, like a year ago, I would think high fives for a couple of these, but
right. A year ago, you walk in these houses and you see the price tag and you think this is overpriced.
Right.
But now you see it and you think, is this overpriced? And yet the crowds flock. I mean, Sundays you got people coming in and out like crazy.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, look, you got a lot of really high-priced homes in Needham, and so these are entry-level for Needham, and there are a lot of people that want to get into this town.
Right.
And so they're willing to make a lot of sacrifices, but in many cases, location is not one of them. So you have a house that's a smaller house and is not necessarily new, but it's in the right spot, you're going to get that number because the demand will be there.
Yeah, and there's just, the inventory levels are just so low that when these houses come on, it's not like they're competing with 7 or 8 other houses.
That's a great point.
You've got 10 buyers for one house, and there you go. And it's, when we start to talk about new construction in a few minutes, I mean, this is when you start talking about, new construction is pricing people out of the starter home market. Well, I would almost argue that these houses selling in the 6s are pricing, people out of the starter home market in Needham, because these houses should be more affordable. Yet the demand is there and the market is speaking, and these houses have never been worth as much as they are right now. Never. I mean, it's incredible.
Right. And I'm working with buyers right now who are this is their range, and so they're seeing things come on and off so quickly that they've been strictly Needham now for a few months, but now all of a sudden they're starting to say, what are your thoughts on Medfield? What are your thoughts on Dover? Because you could be sitting on your hands for months, years, waiting for this house that $650 is the most you can spend, and you just don't feel like you can ever find what you're looking for.
Right.
So we'll see how it plays out.
The question is this a good thing for the Needham market? I mean, obviously, yes. I mean, you want your market to be healthy and strong and competitive, but it does make you scratch your head for a few seconds just to be like, my goodness, these houses are really going for staggering numbers.
Right. I would say the people that watch our show predominantly live in Needham, and so they think it's probably good for the market.
I agree.
So good.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, sorry. That's stating the obvious. Sponsored by 68 Melrose, 51 Alden. We talked about 11 Bond. Also a lot of houses in the 6s that have already sold. It's not just the ones under agreement, but we're seeing it more and more. It's also not the only thing that we are hearing as we hit the streets around Needham and talk to potential homeowners and existing homeowners. Ryan, what else are we hearing?
Well, we get a lot of questions about new construction, and so a lot of times people call us and they say, we were interested in talking to you about building or about renovating or really seeing what can we get for X budget. And there's a couple of different breaking points. One is the under $1 million. What can we get for under $1 million?
Right.
And then the next one is generally it's usually the 1-2 threshold.
Right. From under 1-2.
Right.
So yep, agreed.
So can you get new construction for under $1 million? That's the question.
That's the question. And the answer is yes, you can get new construction under $1 million, but know going in that your options are going to be severely limited, and at certain points over the course of the year, there will be no options. But history is telling us that yes, it's possible.
Yeah.
Recent history.
Right, and our next slide speaks to a couple of examples of some new homes that have sold in Needham in the past year that were all in under $1 million. And so what you'll see as sort of a running theme on here is you got some busy streets. You have some houses that really aren't that large by new construction standards, which for some people is a great thing. That's all they want. They want it new, and they don't necessarily want it big. So, I mean, the answer is yes, but the reality is, as we talked about back when we were discussing Ardmore and Clark and whatnot, when you're buying a lot for $600,000, which is what we're as builders faced with in the neighborhoods that people are really asking to be in, your chances of getting a house built and being in under $1 million are impossible. So that's what brings you to that next threshold of the 1-2, and that's the tricky one, because a lot of people want to be in under 1-2, but they still want to be in an area where the lands cost, the lot costs $600,000, and it's very, very difficult.
And I would say that the consensus among a lot of people that I talk to is they want to spend less on the new construction, but they want the same location. Right. So they're saying, can you just build me a smaller house on the perfect lot? Yeah. And the answer almost always is no, because you can build a smaller house, but it's not incrementally going to cost you so much less to build it because there are a lot of fixed costs involved with new construction. The way that you're going to get under $1 million, or you're going to have a new construction home and pay a low bottom line number for it, is to do it, like Ryan said, in a location that is considered to be inferior or less desirable, or on a lot that's extremely small. And those are really the only two instances that we're seeing. Also interesting to note that last year, the first new house that sold for under $1 million didn't do so until April, and then there were 5 over the course of the rest of the year. This year, 2013, there haven't been any yet either. So I don't know if we're going to hit that 5 number again, or maybe that's going to end up being an aberration with things that we're seeing now in the market. But I certainly don't expect us to see it happen more than 5 times in 2013.
Yeah, and it's just going to get harder and harder to do it as you see these starter home prices go up. So there's fewer and fewer properties that are available for 3, 4, 500,000, which would make those numbers more realistic.
And the competition is fierce for first-time home buyers. It's also fierce for builders who are looking to get lots. And so whenever you have competition, regardless of who it is, it's going to drive up the price. That does it for what we're hearing. We are hearing a lot of things.
So we can't cover everything in one show.
Right.
We wouldn't be fair.
We hear a lot. So we'll definitely hear something next month. And if you want us to talk about something, feel free to contact us. But we'll give you that information a little bit later. It just gives you time to get your pen and paper handy.
Right.
Before we do that, we like to close things out with the market snapshot, which gives you a look at how things are looking presently. And what does this tell us here? It looks like there's even less inventory, Ryan.
Yeah, there's only 44 active single-family listings right now, or as of March 5th, versus 58 at the same time last year. So the inventory is just getting absorbed at almost an alarming rate.
Yeah.
We have 56 single-family homes under agreement right now, which will give us 56 homes to talk about in the coming months.
Right, so one would expect that March will be an improvement. We'll see more than 11.
Right, I think we might have 11 already.
Is that right?
The average list price of 1.5, that's up. That's I think a lot that has to do with maybe some new construction coming on.
Never mind the $18 million listing.
No, we're not going to talk about the $18 million.
Listen.
It's always in the mix. It was in the mix last month.
Okay, all right. I think it is the first time we've seen it crack 1.5.
Yeah, that's high.
And that's a healthy. Yeah, that's a healthy.
Yeah, I think it has to do with maybe that $18 million listing is not as, there's less houses to kind of bring that number down.
Good point.
It's weighted more heavily. But we do also have an average days on market of 156, which I definitely expect to see come down as some of these quick sales will start to register. And the average list price per square foot at 352. We typically see that closer to 3 as in terms of the eventual sale price. But I'm thinking we're going to have a very, very healthy spring as long as we keep getting inventory to the market, because the demand is just outrageous.
And you said, so the average list price is $352 per square foot. The average sales price this past month was $332.
Highest is just been since we've been doing
So that's just a $20 spread between average list and sale. That should be something we might track just to see, because that tells me that what's on the market right now is priced fairly well in relation to what's selling.
But we've been typically seeing that eventual sales number closer to 3. So I think that's more of an anomaly than anything else.
All right, we'll see. Well, we'll see next month. Maybe this is...
Stay tuned.
Yeah, maybe that will be what we're hearing.
We'll take this offline, Rob.
Okay, so before we do that, why don't we give out some contact information so people can reach us if you have any questions, comments, anything you think that relates to real estate. Ryan, you seem to know all the contact information. You're keeping it from me. What is it?
You can contact us. Our phone number is 781-707-6564. And based on these new developments, we do have a new email address for you.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and that email address.
So that's happened over the course of the last
Well, that was also breaking news.
26 minutes.
It was on here. I just didn't read everything. I didn't want to give it all away.
Okay, good move.
The new email address, let me just make sure I have it right.
Yes, I like the way you operate.
Is rob.ryan@hawthornre.com.
Okay, so say that again just in case, it's a new email address.
That's true.
People might think they know it. We just want to stress that it is a new email address.
It's rob.ryan@hawthornre.com.
So if you want to get a hold of us for any kind of question, do so via email or give us a call. That'll do it for this month's installment of What's My House Worth? This is Ryan. I'm Rob. We will see you next month.